welcome back to Tarot Tuesday. Today we're talking pages. The pages are the first of the court cards in the minor arcana. So remember, you've got 1 through 10, then you've got the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. So the page is really the first one that we encounter. When we do see the court cards, they can sometimes mean an actual person who is in your life. So looking at the page itself represents a very particular type of person. If you look at all 4 cards together, what you'll see is, unlike the other cards we've looked at where perhaps 2 suits lean one way and 2 suits lean another way to provide a balance, all 4 of these pages look very, very similar. Without breaking them down individually, because I will do that in a different video, let's look overall at the attitude, demeanor, and environment that we find these pages in. If you look at each one of them, they are represented by young males. That's not to say that if this card shows up in a reading, it represents a young male. It doesn't always mean that, and I will get into that in a moment, but let's continue to look at the art. These young males, if you look at their faces, they're quite serene. They almost have a positivity about them. If you look at their environment, each one of them is in an idyllic environment. There's no real conflict. There's no real threats in the background. Everything looks perfect as associated to their particular environment that they're in. Each one of these pages as well is seen interacting with the tool of their suit. So the Page of Swords has a sword that it looks like he's kind of swinging, maybe a little carelessly. The Page of Wands is looking at his wand. The Page of Pentacles is looking at his coin. The Page of Cups is looking at his cup, which has a cute little fishy in it. Each one of these pages is in a state of relaxation, but also in a state of curiosity about the suit in which they are associated. The pages are considered almost like an apprentice. They're not a master in what they do. They're actually quite young and just learning the ropes. They may be under the authority of someone else who's teaching them the ropes. The page has a childlike curiosity. The page really wants to understand and explore the world in which he lives. So the page has this active childlike wonder about him. When the page shows up in a reading, it doesn't always mean a young man. A page can represent a child. Often the page does represent a child in your life. It can also represent someone with childlike qualities. And when I say childlike qualities, I don't necessarily mean they're immature, although that is one interpretation, but also that sort of wonder, that vibrancy, that desire to learn more, experience more, do more, be more in their world, wanting to really branch out from what they know. Those traits as well can be found in a person that is represented by the page. The page is very androgynous, could be a male, could be a female, but they have to have those qualities and those traits of the page. It can also mean perhaps the way you're approaching a situation, that you need to do so with a sort of childlike wonder. You need to look at things new and fresh and have that excitement that comes with it. But also it can mean a messenger or an event. The page is sometimes seen as a harbinger of information. So when the page shows up, it can mean that there is actually a message that you need to hear and a message that you need to receive. So a page can represent that as well. In one of my other videos, I talked about the origins of the tarot, and I mentioned how in a modern day playing card deck, the pages were actually dropped. Perhaps they were seen as less important, but in my opinion, these are very, very important cards. They represent an aspect of ourselves that is still excited, still wants to experience all there is to learn and to know in the world. They represent the childlike aspects in each one of us. So I really enjoy the pages when I find them in a reading. So I hope you've enjoyed this Tarot Tuesday. Hope you've gotten to know the pages a little bit more, and we'll see you next week.